I just couldn't handle it. I felt that had been done to me for so many years, and I was watching it in real time.
Nicki Minaj has gone after Jay-Z publicly, pulling every camera, every headline, and every opinion directly onto herself. The controversies surrounding Jay-Z may ruin him, but they also might haunt Nicki in a way she doesn't expect. Let's dive right in and expose it all. The escalation. To understand how Jay-Z's controversies became Nicki Minaj's problem, you have to understand the relationship first, because there was one, and it mattered. Nicki Minaj has named Jay-Z as one of her biggest influences, alongside Lil Wayne and Foxy Brown. That is not a casual statement. That is a woman telling the world she studied this man's career and modeled parts of her own after it. Her album The Pink Print drew direct inspiration from his The Blueprint. She was not shy about this. She said it in interviews. She demonstrated it in her work, and there was reciprocity early on. In 2010, at Jay-Z's suggestion, Minaj featured on Robin Thicke's Shakin' It for Daddy. That same year, she appeared on Kanye West's Monster, a track where her verse was so dominant, it became one of the most talked about guest appearances in hip-hop that decade. Jay-Z was on that song too. They were in the same rooms, on the same records, operating in the same circles. Minaj broke records on the Billboard Hot 100, surpassing figures like Aretha Franklin, building a career that put her in a position where she could reasonably expect to be treated as an equal by the people at the top of the industry. But here is where the fracture starts. Minaj is signed to Young Money Entertainment and Republic Records. She is not, and has never been, signed to Roc Nation. Jay-Z's company manages artists like Megan Thee Stallion. It has partnerships with the NFL. It has influence over major events, award shows, and industry infrastructure. Minaj exists outside of that structure, but she operates in the same space, and according to her, that space got smaller. Reddit discussions have speculated that Minaj sought Jay-Z's approval and features, but felt snubbed, as he never collaborated with her on a solo track. Whether that is the root cause or not, the timeline of public hostility begins with money. Specifically, it begins with Tidal. Jay-Z launched Tidal as a streaming platform, positioning it as an artist-owned alternative to Spotify and Apple Music. Multiple high-profile artists held equity stakes. Minaj was among them. In 2021, Jay-Z sold Tidal to Square Inc., now Block, for $302 million. That sale should have been the end of it. It was not. In July 2025, Minaj went on a social media tirade. She accused Jay-Z of owing her between $100 million and $200 million. She posted on X, formerly Twitter, stating that they had calculated about $100 to $200 million so far, and told Jay-Z to call her to settle what she called a karmic debt. She claimed she had initially been offered only $1 million for her equity stake and rejected it. This was not a private negotiation. This was not a legal filing. This was a public accusation, broadcast to millions of followers, framed not as a business dispute, but as a moral failing. And it did not stop there. In September 2024, before the July 2025 explosion, Minaj had already slammed Jay-Z and Steve Stout, the United Masters CEO and Jay-Z associate, for spreading lies about her Tidal involvement. She accused them of lowballing her equity and questioned their business ethics. She implied they protect insiders while targeting her. The September 2024 posts were pointed. The July 2025 posts were a detonation. And then she posted on Instagram, criticizing fans who still called Jay-Z Hove, as if the nickname itself was an endorsement of someone who owed her. She expanded her targets to include Roc Nation CEO Desiree Perez, accusing them of ruining the music and sports industries, using bots to boost artists, and not hiring black women as executives. Each post added another layer. Each accusation broadened the scope. What started as a financial grievance about Tidal equity became an indictment of an entire corporate apparatus, and every single word of it was public. This is the pattern that defines what happened next. Minaj did not file lawsuits. She did not hire forensic accountants to present findings. She went to social media. She went to X. She went to Instagram. She made her case in front of everyone, and in doing so, she invited everyone to make their case about her. The controversies around Jay-Z, the lawsuits, the business disputes, the personal allegations that had been circulating for years, those existed independently. They had their own trajectories, but Minaj attached herself to them. She made herself the narrator, and narrators get scrutinized. The question the title asks is whether Jay-Z's controversies threatened to ruin Nicki Minaj's career. The answer, based on everything that followed this initial escalation, is that it was never really about his controversies. It was about what she did with them. The money. The financial dispute over Tidal is the foundation of everything Nicki Minaj built her public case on, and it is also the most revealing window into how this entire situation spiraled beyond her control. When Jay-Z assembled his coalition of artist owners for Tidal, the pitch was aspirational. Artists would hold equity. Artists would benefit directly from a platform designed to serve their interests rather than exploit them. The roster of stakeholders included some of the most commercially powerful names in music. Minaj was part of that group. She bought in, literally and figuratively, and for a time, the arrangement appeared to function as intended. Then came the sale. In 2021, Jay-Z offloaded Tidal to Square Inc. for $302 million. That is a substantial figure, and the distribution of proceeds among equity holders became, according to Minaj, deeply inequitable. She has claimed publicly and repeatedly that she was offered only $1 million for her stake when she believes she was owed approximately $9 million. That gap between $1 million and $9 million is significant on its own, but Minaj did not stop at $9 million. She escalated her claim to a range of $100 to $200 million, framing the debt not as a contractual shortfall, but as a sprawling, compounding moral obligation she termed karmic debt. The language matters here. Karmic debt is not a legal concept. It is not something you can litigate. It is not something an arbitrator can calculate. By choosing that phrase, Minaj moved the conversation away from balance sheets and into a territory where the numbers become elastic, where the grievance becomes philosophical, and where resolution through conventional means becomes almost impossible. You cannot settle karmic debt with a wire transfer. You settle it with an apology, a public admission of wrongdoing, or not at all. And Jay-Z has shown no indication of providing any of those things. The July 2025 tirade on X was not the first time Minaj raised these concerns, but it was the most combustible. She tagged Jay-Z directly. She threw out specific dollar figures. She framed the unpaid equity as something that was actively collecting interest, suggesting this was not a closed chapter, but an open wound getting more infected by the day. Her followers amplified it. Media outlets picked it up. The story entered the news cycle not as a boring corporate equity dispute, but as a celebrity feud with staggering dollar signs attached. What made this particularly damaging to Minaj's own position was the absence of documentation in the public sphere. She did not share contracts. She did not reference specific terms of the equity agreement. She did not cite legal counsel advising her on the merits of her claim. She made assertions, bold, attention-grabbing assertions, and dared anyone to challenge them. Some did. The backlash was immediate and pointed. Critics highlighted Minaj's own family controversies, questioning whether her sudden outrage over financial ethics was selective. Others noted the timing. The Tidal equity complaints intensified precisely when other disputes with Jay-Z and Roc Nation were escalating, suggesting the money was less a standalone grievance and more ammunition in a broader war. Whether that characterization is fair or not, it stuck. The perception that Minaj was weaponizing a financial dispute to fuel personal vendettas began to crystallize, and once that perception took hold, every subsequent financial claim she made was filtered through it. In September 2024, her attacks on Jay-Z and Steve Stoute over the Tidal deal included accusations that they had conspired to minimize her payout and then spread lies about the nature of her involvement. She positioned herself as the victim of a coordinated effort to silence and shortchange her. Stoute, as CEO of United Masters and a known associate of Jay-Z, became a secondary target, a proxy through which Minaj could attack the broader network she believed was working against her. The financial dispute also became inseparable from her creative output. Minaj tied her refusal to release new music directly to the unresolved Tidal debt, suggesting she would withhold her art until the money was settled. This was a consequential decision. For an artist whose commercial relevance depends on a steady stream of releases, tours, and visibility, voluntarily stepping back from the market is not a power move, it is a gamble. And the person most hurt by that gamble is not Jay-Z, who has diversified interests spanning music, spirits, sports management, and venture capital. The person most hurt is Minaj herself. The Instagram posts reinforced this cycle. Every time she returned to the Tidal grievance, she added another layer of accusation without adding verifiable evidence. The numbers grew. The rhetoric escalated. The audience grew, more polarized. Her supporters treated each post as a revelation. Her critics treated each post as confirmation that the dispute had consumed her judgment. And then came the legal counterpunch. By late 2025, rumors circulated that Roc Nation had issued Minaj a cease and desist, banning her from mentioning Jay-Z, Beyonce, Beyoncé or the company, with threats of a $5 billion defamation lawsuit if she continued. Similar reports appeared on Facebook, though no official confirmation came from Roc Nation itself. Whether the cease and desist is real or not, the mere rumor of it illustrates the trajectory. Minaj's financial accusations had reached a point where legal intervention was being discussed as the only remaining containment strategy. The money fight is where it all began. But the money fight is also where Minaj's credibility began to erode in the eyes of people who were not already committed to her side. When you claim someone owes you $200 million and your evidence is social media posts rather than court filings, the question shifts. It stops being, does Jay-Z owe Nicki Minaj money? And starts being, why is Nicki Minaj doing this in public? That second question is the one that threatens her career. The sabotage. If the Tidal dispute gave Nicki Minaj a grievance, the sabotage narrative gave her a villain. And she built that villain meticulously, accusation by accusation, event by event, until the picture she painted was one of an all-powerful machine, Roc Nation, systematically dismantling her career from the shadows. The most prominent flashpoint was the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show. When Kendrick Lamar was selected to perform instead of Lil Wayne, Minaj accused Jay-Z of jealousy and stopping bags behind the scenes. She did not frame this as a booking decision made by producers and network executives weighing commercial appeal, audience demographics, and creative direction. She framed it as a personal vendetta. She named artists like Nas, DMX, The Game, and Megan Thee Stallion as examples of people Jay-Z had allegedly blocked from opportunities, constructing a pattern of behavior that extended far beyond her own experience. Academics TV reported her alleging that Jay-Z envies her and others, blocking what she called true wins. The word envy is deliberate. It reframes the most commercially successful rapper in history as someone threatened by his peers, a characterization that requires the audience to accept that Jay-Z, with his billion-dollar portfolio and decades of dominance, feels professionally insecure about Nicki Minaj's career. It is a bold claim. It is also a claim that many industry observers found difficult to reconcile with the available evidence. The sabotage narrative expanded with the 2026 Grammy Awards. During Grammy night in February 2026, Minaj accused Jay-Z and Beyoncé of sabotaging her documentary and career. She claimed there was an ongoing RICO investigation into Billboard and announced she would refuse to release new music until her contract was renegotiated. The RICO reference is striking. The Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act is a federal statute designed to combat organized crime. By invoking it, Minaj elevated her accusations from industry politics to something resembling a criminal conspiracy, though no public evidence of such an investigation has been confirmed by any law enforcement agency or regulatory body. The connection to her 2018 documentary decision adds a complicated layer to this narrative. Minaj reportedly held back a documentary about abuse from Meek Mill at Jay-Z's request, demonstrating that there was a period where she respected Jay-Z's counsel enough to suppress her own content on his behalf. She now frames that cooperation as unreciprocated loyalty. She did something for him, and he repaid her with interference and exclusion. In October 2025, the sabotage narrative reached what appeared to be a breaking point. Minaj announced she was quitting music and scrapping her 2026 album, blaming Jay-Z and Roc Nation for blocking her rollout. She claimed they had begged her for a tour, but she refused, citing unethical practices. The retirement announcement carried enormous weight. This is one of the best-selling female rappers in history voluntarily walking away from the industry, but it also carried risk. If the retirement was a negotiating tactic, it only works if the other side cares enough to negotiate. If Jay-Z and Roc Nation simply let her walk away, the leverage evaporates. By February 2026, she was delaying her album due to contract issues and what she described as sabotage by Billboard affiliates, implying Roc Nation's involvement. The targets kept multiplying. It was no longer just Jay-Z, it was Roc Nation. It was Desiree Perez. It was Billboard. It was the NFL. It was the Grammy organization. The conspiracy expanded to accommodate every setback, every perceived slight, every missed opportunity. Minaj targeted Desiree Perez specifically, accusing her of not hiring black women as executives and of ruining entire industries. She accused Roc Nation of blackballing her, suppressing her social media reach, and favoring artists like Megan Thee Stallion. The Megan Thee Stallion angle is particularly volatile, given the existing tension between Minaj and Megan, and it allowed Minaj to frame the Roc Nation machine as not just anti-Nicki, but actively pro-competitor, rigging the game, rather than merely blocking one player. Reports from February 2026 added fuel to this perception. Minaj was reportedly not invited to the Met Gala, with insiders citing her Roc Nation war as a factor in the industry stepping back from her. Whether that exclusion was caused by Roc Nation pressure or by event organizers independently deciding that Minaj's public behavior made her a liability is a distinction that matters enormously, but is almost impossible to verify from the outside. Minaj, naturally, attributed it to sabotage. Her critics attributed it to consequences. Analysts have noted that Roc Nation's role in sports, music, and media gives it soft power to influence deals, endorsements, and visibility for artists, even without direct management relationships. This is true. It is also true that soft power is, by its nature, difficult to document and even more difficult to prove. Minaj's sabotage claims exist in that space between plausible and provable, a space where belief depends almost entirely on how much trust you place in the person making the accusation, and that is the crux of the problem. The sabotage narrative requires the audience to accept Minaj's version of events wholesale, without independent corroboration, and against the silence of every entity she has accused. Jay-Z has not responded. Beyonce has not responded. Roc Nation has not publicly commented. The absence of denial is not confirmation, but Minaj and her supporters often treat it as such. The silence becomes evidence. The lack of engagement becomes proof of guilt. For Minaj's career, the sabotage narrative is a double-edged sword so sharp it cuts in both directions simultaneously. If she is right, she is a whistleblower exposing corruption at the highest levels of the entertainment industry. If she is wrong, or even partially wrong, she is an artist burning every professional bridge she has left while the industry watches and quietly closes doors. Personal attacks. When Nicki Minaj shifted from financial grievances and career sabotage allegations to personal attacks on Jay-Z's character, the nature of the conflict fundamentally changed. Business disputes can be resolved, career interference claims can be investigated, but allegations of predatory behavior and ritualistic misconduct occupy a different category entirely, one where retraction is nearly impossible, and where the accuser becomes as much a subject of scrutiny as the accused. The Grammy night outburst in February 2026 marked the most dramatic escalation. During the ceremony, Minaj posted on X about sacrificing children for power, directly tying it to Jay-Z and Beyonce. She shared images and timelines she constructed to support her claims. She alleged Jay-Z had involvement with underage artists, specifically citing Aaliyah at 15 and Foxy Brown at 15, and labeled him a child predator. She accused the Carters of engaging in what she described as satanic rituals to maintain their influence and power within the entertainment industry. These are not the kind of allegations that exist in a gray area. They are accusations of criminal conduct and occult practices directed at two of the most famous people on the planet, and they were made not in a courtroom, not through an investigative journalist, not via a legal filing, but on social media, in real time, during one of the music industry's biggest nights. Minaj posted true or false alongside timelines she constructed about Jay-Z's relationships, framing her accusations as questions while clearly directing her audience toward a specific conclusion. The rhetorical device is transparent. By asking true or false, she maintains a veneer of inquiry, while the content she presents leaves little doubt about which answer she endorses. She claimed he hugged and humped on teens in broad daylight, pairing the accusation with photographs she presented as evidence. X-users amplified the content widely, with posts showing Minaj stirring debates using her true or false framing. The engagement was massive. The content spread across platforms: X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, each share adding another layer of visibility and another degree of distance from any verifiable sourcing. She then tied these personal allegations to broader claims of industry ritual abuse and power dynamics, entering territory that overlaps significantly with long-standing conspiracy theories about the entertainment industry. The satanic baby sacrifice accusations she leveled at Jay-Z and Beyonce explicitly accused them of child exploitation as a mechanism for maintaining elite status. X users summarized her content as linking the feud to broader conspiracy theories, a characterization that, regardless of one's position on the merits, accurately describes the trajectory of her claims. The political dimension added another volatile element. Minaj's rants frequently blended her support for Trump with criticisms of Jay-Z's alleged Democratic affiliations and political connections. She warned against voting Democrat in follow-up posts, implying that political alignment with the Carters was alignment with the practices she was accusing them of. She conditioned her album release on exposing what she described as RICO-level sabotage, tying her creative output directly to her crusade against the Carters and their alleged infrastructure of corruption. The Beyoncé dimension, while less direct in Minaj's initial framing, became increasingly explicit. By accusing the Carters collectively, Minaj drew Beyoncé into the crosshairs by marital association. This provoked a response from Tina Knowles, Beyoncé's mother, who in July 2025 posted what was interpreted as a criticism of Minaj's rants. Knowles later denied the post was aimed at Minaj, but the damage was done. The feud had expanded to include the extended family. Minaj responded by escalating her claims against the Carters further, treating the Knowles denial as evidence of a coordinated defense rather than a genuine clarification. Critics were quick to note the perceived hypocrisy. Minaj's sudden concern with predatory behavior and age gap relationships raised eyebrows given her own husband's criminal history and her brother's conviction. YouTube commentators like DJ Vlad discussed the contradiction of Minaj, accusing Jay-Z of behaviors her own family members have been convicted of. This line of criticism did not invalidate her claims about Jay-Z in any logical sense. The conduct of her family members is separate from the conduct of Jay-Z, but in the court of public opinion, consistency matters, and the inconsistency weakened her standing with people who were not already committed supporters. The personal attacks also represented a point of no return in terms of professional relationships. You can walk back a financial dispute. You can soften a sabotage allegation. You cannot easily unaccuse someone of being a child predator engaged in satanic rituals. The bridge does not just burn, it ceases to exist, and with it goes any possibility of reconciliation, collaboration, or even peaceful coexistence within the same industry. Jay-Z has not publicly responded to any of these allegations. Not the financial claims, not the sabotage accusations, not the predator labels, not the ritual allegations. The silence is total and, depending on your interpretation, either strategic or damning. For Minaj, it is maddening. She is throwing her most explosive material at a wall that absorbs everything and reflects nothing. For her career, the personal attacks are where the threat becomes most acute. An artist who accuses industry titans of financial misconduct can be seen as bold. An artist who accuses them of satanic child sacrifice risks being seen as unhinged. And the entertainment industry, whatever its flaws, tends to distance itself from people it perceives as unstable liabilities. The backlash and the career threat. Everything Nicki Minaj said about Jay-Z, about Roc Nation, about Beyoncé, about the industry apparatus she claimed was arrayed against her. All of it generated a response, but the response was not what she appeared to expect. Instead of an industry reckoning that validated her claims and punished her targets, the backlash circled back and settled squarely on her. The cease and desist rumors from Roc Nation in late 2025 signaled that the legal machinery was beginning to engage. The reported terms were stark. No more mentions of Jay-Z, Beyoncé, or Roc Nation, with the threat of a $5 billion defamation lawsuit hanging overhead if Minaj continued her public campaign. Whether the cease and desist was formally served or strategically leaked remains unconfirmed, but the message was unambiguous. Continue talking and face consequences that dwarf any Tidal equity dispute. The industry response was quieter, but arguably more devastating. Reports indicated Minaj was not invited to the Met Gala, with insiders saying the industry was stepping back from her because of the Roc Nation conflict. The phrasing is critical. Stepping back implies not a coordinated blackball, but a collective, independent decision by gatekeepers who concluded that proximity to Minaj carried more risk than reward. Event organizers, brand partners, media outlets, and fellow artists each making their own calculation and arriving at the same conclusion. That is not a conspiracy. That is a market response. Her absence from the 2026 Grammys and the Met Gala was attributed to the feud by multiple sources, with the consensus being that Minaj's combative public posture had made her toxic to the institutional structure she needed for visibility and commercial viability. Awards, shows, galas, and high-profile events are not just ceremonies, they are marketing platforms. Being excluded from them is not merely a social snub, it is a material reduction in the infrastructure that sustains a mainstream music career. The media and fan reaction split along predictable lines. The Barbs, Minaj's devoted fan base, treated every post as a courageous act of truth-telling, amplifying her content, and attacking her critics with a ferocity that has long defined that community. But support from a loyal fan base is not the same as support from the industry that distributes, promotes, and monetizes an artist's work. The Barbs can trend hashtags. They cannot book arena tours, secure brand deals, or ensure radio rotation. On the other side, critics and media figures warned that Minaj needs help and pointed to what they characterized as debunked claims. The framing of her allegations as symptoms of a mental health crisis rather than legitimate grievances is patronizing if she is right and prescient if she is wrong. Either way, it further eroded her public credibility with audiences beyond her core supporters. PR experts and industry analysts argued that Minaj's rants and her Trump support were causing her own cancellation, not Roc Nation. The political dimension is significant. By aligning publicly with Trump while attacking figures associated with Democratic politics, Minaj split her potential audience along partisan lines in an industry that skews heavily liberal. This is a strategic choice with measurable consequences, not in terms of streaming numbers from her existing base, which showed resilience, but in terms of institutional willingness to platform and promote her. Minaj has alleged that Roc Nation targeted her husband and child, abusing platforms to tarnish her family, which she says affected her creative output and mental state. If true, this would represent a profoundly unethical campaign of harassment. If untrue, it represents a profoundly damaging escalation of rhetoric that makes Minaj appear increasingly detached from verifiable reality. The problem is that in the absence of evidence either way, the claim exists in a liminal space where it simultaneously elicits sympathy and skepticism, depending entirely on the audience's prior disposition toward the person making it. The question of what happens if Jay-Z actually faces a significant downfall adds a speculative but important dimension. One analysis suggested Minaj has planted the grenade under Roc Nation's empire, implying that a Jay-Z collapse would retroactively validate everything she has said. She would become the person who saw it first and said it loudest. But there is an equally plausible scenario where Jay-Z's downfall, if it comes, drags Minaj down with him. If the collapse of Roc Nation destabilizes the broader hip-hop ecosystem, the infrastructure Minaj depends on could weaken regardless of her vindication. And if the public associates her name with the chaos, not as a whistleblower, but as a participant in the toxic spectacle, the stigma could outlast the controversy itself. Experts have warned she is at the end of her career, regardless of the Jay-Z conflict, citing her age in a youth-obsessed genre, her voluntary withdrawal from releasing music, and the accumulated reputational damage from years of public feuds. Whether that assessment is premature or accurate depends on what Minaj does next. If she releases music, tours, and re-engages with the commercial apparatus of the industry, her talent and fan base may be enough to sustain her. If she continues to prioritize the public war over the work, the career threat becomes a career reality. The broader research confirms that Minaj's ties to Jay-Z's controversies are primarily accusatory rather than participatory. She claims knowledge but stayed silent until her own disputes arose. No verified evidence links her directly to any of Jay-Z's alleged wrongdoings. She is not a co-conspirator. She is not a victim of the specific misconduct she alleges. She is a former admirer turned accuser whose timing and methods have invited as much scrutiny of her motives as of her targets. Jay-Z's controversies did not ruin Nicki Minaj's career. They gave her a stage. What she chose to perform on that stage, the unsubstantiated financial demands, the conspiracy theories, the predator allegations, the ritual accusations, the political provocations, that is what put her career in jeopardy. The spotlight she demanded is the same one illuminating every vulnerability she has, and it shows no sign of turning off. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to watch another fascinating video like this, click on one of the boxes on your screen right now.